Whoa! Are you ready for some insanity, everybody? I mean, today's game is constant bugs, bots, explosions, and most importantly of all, serving up some managed democracy. That's right, we're talking about Helldivers 2 today, a sequel extremely different than its predecessor, and a game that I never expected to enjoy this much. Helldivers 2 is a crazy, hectic, fun mess of madness. It only took me 5 minutes to get a feel, and only took that little amount of time to get flung across the map by explosives, trapped in the middle of a 30 or 40 bot swarm, and even worked through a 2-hour grind sesh with some really friendly randos. I mean, I never even expected to check out Helldivers 2, nonetheless have so much fun, but now that I have, there is so much to get into today, so let's get right to it. So, switching up how I normally do things first, I'm gonna get into my experience and my thoughts on Helldivers 2, then I'll get into all that other mumbo jumbo. As of writing this, I actually just saw a video that was kind of funny. It was Tim the Tapman and Dr. Disrespect talking about Helldivers 2, and how it looks super uninteresting, it looks basic, and it looks like the same thing every match, it's on repeat, and it even might have felt like people were getting paid to play and promote the game. For that, they will not be checking out or playing the game anytime soon, that is. This just kind of makes me chuckle, as these are the same people playing Call of Duty and PUBG, which, if anything, is a little worse than Helldivers 2 in that department. But I, on the other hand, had a blast. Pun intended. Nice. I mean, right off the bat, the game was looking and feeling absolutely amazing. Then before getting into my first game, I was launched over 25 meters by some spores, and I was blown away by even the physics, but it all really set the vibe for the game. Then, finally getting to that first gunfight, I realized all of the intense memes that I've been seeing about the game, even having one of my own. I was yelling, sweating, grinding, and after extracting with nothing other than my broken pride, I just had to play more. I got into a match with 3 other people, and we ended up playing with each other for a couple hours. Not like that, chill out. But we contributed our fair share to Super Earth and the democracy. And this actually happened a couple of times, getting into a group and grinding out a couple of hours of missions instead of just 1 or 2 with some completely random people, and having a blast. And by the time I was logging off, I understood the hype. Now, I'm not saying the game is perfect or anything, but I was perfectly content with the $40 I spent. I mean, it has been a while since I've played a game that I can just hop on, play a couple hours, and hop off without accomplishing anything other than having a good time. That sounds bad, but wait, it's not. Sometimes it's nice to just play a game mindlessly, not stressing about beating the game or extracting with the best loot. Like, with Helldivers 2, you just have to get samples and play. Then when you're done with the mission, it's on to the next. I don't know, I'm probably making no sense, or
that doesn't make sense.
Maybe I'm overthinking things, but extraction games like Tarkov or Dark and Darker are based around getting the best loot and weapons and having to extract with that. And then games like Call of Duty or Battlefield, you play to get to the max level, unlock all the skins, and show off. With Helldivers 2, you do some of those things, but there's never really any other pressure than to play the game, and yeah, maybe unlock the next weapon, but I feel like I'm harping on about that, so Helldivers 2 is mindless madness in all the best ways. And speaking of unlocking things, I'll move on to the next thing I enjoyed, and the next thing I want to talk about, that being the progression system. So moving off of my thoughts, but still onto something I actually enjoyed, and that was the progression of the game, which I bet is something that a lot of people actually didn't like. Leveling up doesn't necessarily unlock things, rather things to purchase, to upgrade on your ship. Then upgrades to your ship, or modules, are used in battle for different stratagems, like special weapons or orbital strikes. The main way of progression is actually a battle pass, and may I say, a battle pass done right. You unlock some new weapons and armor through free battle pass, and sure, there are some cosmetic items, but the majority are useful things like new weapons or armor with actual buffs and different stats. This is wildly different than Call of Duty or Fortnite's battle pass, surrounded primarily around looks and cosmetics and dancing and stuff. This game actually puts a purpose behind it. Sure, as I said, there are emotes and stuff, but there's a lot more useful things with the Battle Pass. Now, there is a premium paid Battle Pass as well, but I will say the free one does the job just fine, and I was not inclined or pushed at all to upgrade. But the way to go through the battle pass is also different than games like COD, more akin to Fortnite, I would say. I think the way you move through this battle pass is exactly like the current Fortnite. I don't know, I don't really play Fortnite, but you get to build up your battle points. I forget what they're called, but I'm just gonna call them battle points. You build them up and you choose how to spend them. You know, that's the progression. As I said, it's more about playing the game. But speaking of playing the game, let's actually get into Helldiving. Before continuing on though, be sure to do your duty and like and subscribe to support Super Earth today. Okay, but now shifting things over to what playing the game is actually like and, well, what you do. So I'm going to point out first, right now, that I had no clue about Helldivers 2, as the first Helldivers was so different. And without knowing, I would have never even guessed the two games were even similar or connected. Helldivers 1 was a top-down twin-stick shooter with pretty cartoony graphics and vibes. Then you look at Helldivers 2, the game is highly realistic with its graphics and its physics, along with being third-person over the shoulder, which could not be more different. But we still get the crazy hordes of action, just in a more intense state. An awesome addition to this too is the ability to aim with your sights and scopes in a Metal Gear Solid first-person sense. I love third-person games that add this in, especially when it's done well like in Helldivers 2. But the goal of the game is to spread managed democracy throughout the galaxy.
And spread managed democracy throughout the galaxy.
Seriously though, you and up to 3 other players dive into certain planets engulfed in war. You either fight the bots on the red side or the bugs on the yellow. On said planets, there are a bunch of objectives, whether you are joining someone's fight or starting your own. What they consist of are usually things like, defeating 200 enemies, or maybe saving 100 engineers, destroying hives, launching ICBMs. You get to choose, and there's a good few options. There's also different difficulties which change things like enemy count or number of things that you have to complete. Then there's also different objectives that unlock battle points or more of the currency, This is all sounding a little confusing. Let me break down a mission just for an example. Let's say you want to bring some democracy to the bugs by launching an ICBM. You dive in, have to travel to a fueling point to fuel, then you have to move over and go get the launch codes, or vice versa. I think that one you can do either or, but once you do that, along the way you have to find bug holes where you close them all, boom, hive taken out, get to the fueling, fuel up the ICBM, and you have to fight off the bugs while you're doing that too. Maybe you pass a comms tower, it's optional, but you did it. You finish launching the ICBM and then you extract. The whole time you're fighting intense hordes of bugs. You may have even grabbed some samples along the way, but depending on the amount you choose to do before extracting, whether just the objectives or all the things on the side, is what dictates your payout. Then you return to the same area again to finish the rest of the tasks. There's usually 2 or 3, and once you're finished, it shows your contribution to the war efforts, which is really cool actually, because it shows how much you and your friends contributed to liberating that planet. And it's all actual players, as it's going up and down in liberation percentage, that's players liberating and failing to liberate planets, and I just really think that's a cool concept, pushing it back in actual real time. It's confusing, and I don't know, but then it's on to the next mission and playing more. Now, I want to move things off of gameplay and onto the gear and guns, which I kind of touched on before, and I don't want to talk about unlocking them anymore. Instead, I just want to talk about the weapons and gear in general. So, I really like how the guns in Helldivers 2 are. I think the majority are modeled well, they sound well, and though it might sound weird, they feel really good. Some games just make airsoft paintball guns with no kick, no punch, crappy sounds, and Helldivers 2 does not suffer that fate. Having all around well done weapons, plus the aiming system is kinda new and redone in my opinion. Weapon sway and recoil are real in this game, and instead of the usual 4-line crosshair, you get a little circle showing where all the bullets will land and where the barrel actually points. Then with that, bringing in the armor, the different armors and suits you unlock have different ratings and buffs. One might increase your speed but give you lower health, or one might make you slower but give you better accuracy. Mixing and matching your gear along with picking the best weapon for that suit, you can really just get a good thing going. And then there's the special weapons sent in by the stratagem, which, let's just talk about what the stratagem is really quick. You use this stratagem, which actually looks like the countermeasure from Quantum Break, but it's a device that you use to call in special weapons, airstrikes, resupplies, and the way you do it is by punching in a little combo and toss it. At first, it really overwhelmed me having to do, up, left, right, down, up, left, stuff like that in the heat of the moment, but getting the hang of it, the system actually works great. Sure, as I said, it adds to the heat of the battle, but it serves for a way to do multiple things with one item, still immersively. And as I said, you use it to call in special weapons like machine guns, rocket launchers, and laser cannons, or things like eagle airstrikes and orbital missiles. I don't know, there might not be a ton of gear, but it all feels really well done, and everything, as I said, gets the job done. But honestly, there is not much more to say about the game, so I'm gonna wrap things up with a final thought. Is it worth it? Now, who am I to tell you how to spend your money? I'm not a financial advisor, but really, I think that if you have $40 and you're looking for a new game to mess around with friends or even randos, this would be a good choice. I mean, I played with 3 other people for like 2 to 3 hours multiple times, and I had a blast every time. I mean, the graphics, the environments are fantastic and a marvel in comparison to the first game. Then simple things like the game's physics had so much, just getting flown around by explosives the whole time playing. I was always either in awe, screaming, or laughing at the experience. And this really is a game you can just pick up, play a few rounds, and put it down in either a better or worse mood than before, in a good way. And in my opinion though, this game is definitely worth the $40, the price tag even being one of the reasons I went through with the purchase. If it was $70, I would have been like, $40, I was like, yeah, well, let's try it. And I have not regretted a penny since. Again though, I'm no financial consultant, so don't take my word for it. Now though, I want to hear your thoughts on Helldivers 2, or just this video, in the comments now. And if you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, be sure to hit that like and subscribe now to stay up to date on everything to come. And don't forget to support Super Earth now by pressing that little join button and be rewarded with your name at the end of certain uploads a couple hours early. Lastly, if you heard any music that you enjoyed and you want to hear more, head over to Billy the Whip on any music platform to hear my homemade jams. And with us here, I thank you all so much for your viewing pleasure. I hope to see you again, and I hope you all have a great day.
Getting aggressive on the track, I'm never holding back. Packing stanzas in the sack, next to the stacks and nip a cack. Making me sick, it's making me yak. Feel like I'm having a heart attack. You feel like you know